From Brooklyn, New York, the youngest heavyweight champion of the world, Iron Mike Tyson. Welcome, guys, to a special edition of boxing. Yes, this is Tennis in a Minute, but this video is brought to you via the Doctrine of Fair Use, the Fair Dealing, and the Digital Millennium Act. We're going to talk about Iron Mike Tyson. But before we get to him, Katie Taylor, ladies and gentlemen, she has been getting some very questionable decisions lately. Look, let's just be honest here, right? She's winning matches that she's losing, and she's the underdog, big underdog here. I don't know what's going on there in Dublin, but this is not right. We have to look into this. Katie Taylor she's a Hall of Famer. She's a great boxer. But she's not winning these matches, and that needs to stop. Let's talk about Iron Mike. Did you guys see here ringside Shaquille O'Neal hanging with Rob Gronkowski? Beautiful. Both these guys are hilarious, by the way. And Shaq just changed the game, in case you guys don't know. He literally, when he came out of LSU, this guy changed the trading card industry. That's right. He signed an exclusive deal with Upper Deck that basically said, look, he can't produce any other sports cards in terms of his rookie card with Upper Deck, only with Upper Deck for a limited time. So that pretty much had Upper Deck stock going through the roof, because like his elite rookies only came out through Upper Deck, and they had like a trading card that was like a shadow of Shaq dunking, like where if you got that, then Upper Deck would send you a rookie. Amazing. Shaq changed the game. The guy was breaking down rims. Hilarious. He was making rap albums, starring in movies. And this was during the Michael Jordan era where he was just dominating. Shaq really changed the game. Great guy. He's just been an all-around good guy. And same with Gronk. Amazing tight end. But listen, guys. Ringside, we had Roy Jones, one of the greatest boxers of all time, undefeated for a long time. He would lose his first bout due to a horrible decision by the ref. He had Griffin down. I guess he kept hitting him too many times. The ref called a disqualification. That's how Roy Jones lost his first fight, and that was pretty tough. He should have been an Olympic gold medalist. Yes, going to France this year. The Paris Games was amazing watching, the boxing, the tennis, the basketball, but Roy Jones actually beat his opponent so bad that his opponent knew he didn't win the gold medal. He literally said, look, Roy won this fight. And Roy would turn pro due to the politics. And Rosie Perez, she had a very good Mike Tyson story. She said she was in a nightclub with her sister, and some guys pulled out a gun on her sister because she wouldn't dance with them. She went up and grabbed Mike and said, Mike, these guys pulled a gun on my sister. Mike Tyson came down, grabbed the gun from the guy and said, look, knock it off. Mike is just such a tough guy. But listen, guys, which Mike would we get? Would we get the Iron Mike Tyson, the youngest heavyweight of all time? 19 years old, 20 years old, 4 months, the youngest heavyweight in the history of boxing. Mike Tyson was just ferocious. I want to eat your heart. I want to eat your children. Mike Tyson at one point was considered the baddest man on the earth, the most feared man on the earth. He just had that killer instinct mentality. He worked hard, but things got a little sloppy in his career. A motto when he passed away, of course, he had ties to Ali, and that was always Tyson's favorite boxer, and Ali was loved by the people. Mike Tyson, even though he was public enemy number one, he got a lot of bad press. He was into a lot of things. He's from Brooklyn. He grew up rough. People loved him because he's honest. and honesty goes a long way in life. If you're honest with people, then they'll sympathize with you. They'll understand you're a human being. So a lot of the things, the wrong things Tyson did, people forgave him because he's honest. And at the same time, we know Mike didn't have it all there, right? Mentally, he wasn't all there. So I think there was an understanding and a love for Mike. And Mike, as champion, looked out for a lot of people. So that also made him love. But things got crazy, right? And I want to say this was in Japan, Tokyo. That's right. Konnichiwa. Mike Tyson was the highest favorite of that I can remember on the books to be upset, a 40-1 favorite fighting James Buster Douglas. And Mike Tyson, this was supposed to be a walk in the park. But here's the thing when you're on top, right? You're always going to get the best from your opponent because if they beat you, it can change your life. And this is why I say all the time when it comes to someone like Corey Coco Gauff, the future of tennis, she gets the best. And I don't think people realize that when you are popular, when you are the poster child, you're going to get your opponent's best every single time. And the thing with Mike is, Mike was feared so much, his knockout power, and a lot of people don't realize Mike Tyson's one of the best defenders of all time. He never really took a beating. But in contrast to that, his slipping of punches, his movement, his speed, his jab, he never took a beating. And factor in his power, his training regimen, his insane physique and athletic ability, his ability to slip punches and go under you with the left hook or right hook to the body, right hook to the head, uppercuts, his jab. He really just had people scared of him. And you look at his resume, how he's just running through opponents. When you're fighting someone that if they land and connect, you're probably going bye-bye, it makes you fight scared, intimidated. So Mike Tyson was able to really, put fear in his opponents. Buster Douglas this night, in case you're not familiar with this match, his mother was very, very sick, very ill. And, correct me if I'm wrong here. She passed away not too long ago, leading up to this fight, rather. Let me rephrase that. So she passed away before this fight with Mike Tyson. But Buster Douglas told his mom, he said, "I'm going to beat Mike Tyson." So she would end up passing away. And again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but going into this fight, Mike Tyson, 40-1 favorite in Tokyo. Everyone thought he would just run through Buster Douglas. And at this time, this is the 80s, Mike Tyson, the big video game was Nintendo, right? There was Atari and then Nintendo. Those were I want to say they were 8-bit systems, very basic video games. But at the time, that was what the technology was in terms of the latest and greatest. And the biggest game on Nintendo was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. The guy was huge, right? So Mike Tyson comes into this fight. It was a very competitive fight, but he put Douglas down, and he was winning the fight. Douglas was holding his ground, but Tyson was winning the fight. Gets to the point here where Tyson puts down Douglas, and the referee, in my opinion, I watched this clip, I think Tyson should have won the fight. I think it should have been stopped, right? I think he gave Douglas maybe an extra second and a half, 2 seconds, right? But again, it's controversial. This is where things get really, really opinionated. I thought Mike Tyson won the fight. The fight should have been over. Buster Douglas was allowed to get up and continue. The next round, I want to say it was the 10th round. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Now, Buster Douglas, as you could tell, Mike Tyson, the rumor is he was partying with Bobby Brown the night before. He was doing drugs and drinking and having fun with a lot of women. And that's the rumor with Mike Tyson. If you know him or if you heard of him, he loved women. He had so much money, he'd give it away and take care of everyone around him. But you can't party. You have to take care of your responsibilities and what got you here. So The night before, he's up all night, he's partying, he's not training, and now Amato's passed away. So the discipline in his camp, he had issues with Teddy Atlas, and the discipline that he had in his camp. And look, Teddy Atlas was young, so it's not like, you know, Teddy was the main guy in that camp. He was one of the members in that camp that helped coach and train Mike. But the reality here is he was more of an assistant. The discipline left his camp, and Mike Tyson at this point had a completely new team around him in Tokyo, and you can say they were yes men. They were listening to what Mike wanted, and Mike didn't have the discipline at this time in his career. Buster Douglas floors Mike Tyson. He's on the canvas. He's looking for his mouthpiece. However, he made it to his feet. He made it to his feet. The fight should have been allowed to resume. This was a very fast count, 40-1 underdog. James Buster Douglas wins this fight, and then instantly, overnight, video games, commercials, sponsors. He's everywhere. And then Mike would get caught up in nonsense. They were preparing bouts with possibly Lennox Lewis, Holyfield at the time. And again, Holyfield, Lewis, these were the other premier boxers coming up that were young. And they knew each other. They grew up with Mike. They all knew Mike. But Mike was at the peak of his career. I think if he fights Holyfield and Lewis then, I think he beats them easily, right? And the rumor was Holyfield and Lewis had been ducking Tyson at this time. So this led Tyson's career into just a downward spiral. He would then get, allegations with a woman that would lead him to prison. And then from there, he would come out, get a few wins, but he was just never the same after this loss here. We'd see the fight with Evander Holyfield. This was the rematch where he bit his ear. This was crazy. This fight here, that's Mills Lane, the referee. The one thing I would say about this fight, I watched it, is Holyfield kept holding. He had a very dirty strategy, both fights. Holyfield, by this point, tough guy, very big, bigger than Mike Tyson. So he could match his strength, but a lot of holding and hitting, just smothering Tyson. I thought it was a dirty game plan. Tyson just got tired of it and bit his ear off. That was wild. But for those of you that don't know, biting, I boxed for a while. Biting and boxing is actually pretty common, because you got gloves on. You can't do anything. If someone's frustrating you or fighting dirty, biting does happen more than you think. So Tyson wasn't the first to do it. The bout with Lennox Lewis, by this point, Tyson's stamina wasn't really good. Lennox Lewis just stayed on the outside, pick him apart. And watching Tyson for so long, his stamina just was not good. And that was one of the main things there. And again, Lewis would floor him. Lewis quietly retired with one of the best heavyweight resumes of all time. Doesn't get the respect I think he deserves. Again, he fought in that Tyson era where Tyson was just the main draw. But Lennox Lewis quietly, one of the top heavyweights of all time, no one talks about. Fast forward here, this fight with Paul. Tyson has not fought a sanctioned bout in over 2 decades. And this was the scary part here. Look at the age difference. 31 years the senior of Paul, a couple inches shorter, and 5 inches less on the reach side of things. Now, Paul, look, they call him a YouTube fighter, whatever you want to say. But look, he's fought professionals. He's not the only technical boxer he's fought, you could say, is Fury, right? And he lost that fight. He's fought the Nate Robinsons of the world, the Nate Diaz, the Tyron Woodleys. And look, I've gone to several of these fights. I didn't go to this fight, but I've gone to several of Paul's fights. And I stated the last fight I went to was the Woodley fight. I said, I'm not going to any of his fights anymore because I don't like what I'm seeing, right? When he fought Woodley the first time, Woodley had him hurt. He was about to go bye-bye, and for some reason, Woodley backed off. As a boxer, I know if you want to win a fight and you got your opponent hurt or dazed, you jump on them unless there's a reason you're scared of the counter or you're just avoiding their power. But in this situation where your opponent's hurt and you can finish them and you back off, then that's a little alarming to me. And I've seen some of that activity in the fights with Paul. So I said, yeah, I'm not paying to see anything like this. And you can come to your own conclusion. So fast forward here, I thought it was great that Paul used the car in Dallas. I don't know if he was taking shots here, but he's like that. But I like the top down riding through Dallas. And I thought it was smart because you conserve energy. One thing with these long ring walks in these huge arenas, that's going to take a lot of energy. You get in the ring, you're going to be a little bit tired. But again, if you prepared in training camp, and I think a lot of times nowadays when it comes to training camp, you need a nutritionist in your training camp. You need to make sure all your vitamin levels are 100%. And I'm not sure if the fighters are, I would imagine they should be doing that. But I think all elite athletes need a nutritionist on payroll. You need to check your levels because you can be healthy with iron, magnesium, your vitamin Bs, your 6s, your 12s. But if your vitamin D's low, it's not going to work. That could regulate your flow of calcium and everything. And then you could have weak performances. And Tyson's walk to the ring concerned me because you notice when he fought Roy Jones, he looked good against Roy Jones, but he had the knee brace on, right? With how Tyson attacks, he puts a lot of his weight, exploding through his legs, through that hip area. He sits down on his punches and he's able to garner a lot of energy and strength and transfer that energy to his opponent. That leads to the knockout. That knee brace concerned me. And then walking to the ring, I didn't like that. Right? If you're having knee problems, maybe come out, have someone carry you. Like we saw, was it, I think maybe Wilder the second time or third time against Fury after the long ring walk and the costume malfunction in a fight he should have won the first fight. That should not have been a draw. You get 2 knockdowns. Look, Fury lost the first fight and then there was allegations of cheating. But nonetheless, Tyson Fury's dad named him after Mike Tyson, the greatest, most feared man on the planet at one point. Coming into the ring here, here's how I felt about this fight. I felt Tyson's stamina has not been good for a very long time. We're talking about going back when he was fighting real bouts. His stamina has not been good. So I know right away he's going to have stamina issues. Right? He gets out of the second round if there's no knockout. He's not going to win the fight because he's not going to be able to throw. He's not going to be able to move. He's going to be a hitting target. Now, the fight against Roy Jones, I thought he looked good, but I also thought he was in better shape and better conditioning, by the way. But I thought Roy took it easy on Mike. And again, that was not a sanctioned bout. So you knew that was just going to be a money grab, right? And that's exactly what that was. Fast forward to today, the first round, Mike came out. He looked pretty good, right? Again, Iron Mike Tyson. I thought Mike won the first round without a doubt, right? What do you guys think? Now, the jab was there, a couple blows to the body, but Mike really didn't throw with intentions to hurt Paul, right? Even though Mike he's 58 years old, 31-year age difference, Mike's still a trained killer. And I noticed even though he won the first round, I kind of slightly gave him the second round. Even though Jake landed a big jab, I still kind of gave Mike the second round. So I had Mike up 2 rounds after the second round, going into the third. Now, from the third on, there was just really no activity with Mike, right? And his tank was empty. And you could tell he started to have knee issues. But one thing I will say is I never in this fight saw Mike truly intend to throw or land anything major that could damage Paul. So that's one thing I did notice, right? I did also notice that Paul had Tyson hurt, I want to say around the 4th round. You started to notice Tyson's legs just they weren't under. He lost his legs early in this fight. I'd say probably mid third round, fourth round, Tyson's legs were gone. But I did notice Paul at one point, he threw something that kind of, I wouldn't say it stumbled or rattled Mike, but in terms of his legs just not being there, it caught Mike and kind of made him, I wouldn't say it hurt him, but it made him kind of lose his balance a bit. And I think it was more so just his legs not being under him, just from having bad legs at this point of his life, in contrast to the punch. And it was an opening for Paul to jump on Mike and possibly stop this fight, right? Here's the thing about boxing or any sport. If you don't have your legs, it doesn't matter how strong or tough you are. It doesn't matter if you're the baddest man on the planet. If you don't have your legs, you're going to go bye-bye. And I felt that Paul, just like the Woodley fight, had an opening. Well, the Woodley fight was a bit more ridiculous because Woodley had Paul dazed and rocked against the ropes, and he could have ended that fight, but he backed off. That was alarming to me. This fight here, Paul could have stepped on the gas pedal and he could have put Mike away. Then you start to think, okay, what's going on here? So my personal opinion is fights like this isn't like a world championship tennis match or basketball or football match. Fights like this, I mean, you could just create your contract, whatever you want to do, however you want to make the outcome, so to speak, you can, because these are independent promoters. It's a sanctioned bout, but it's, at the end of the day, it's entertainment. And I could see here that it could have been a respect issue as well, but I can see that Paul kind of let his foot off the gas pedal. Now, here's the thing. Mike is 58 years old. He's not in his best shape. He smokes every day. He's a celebrity. He could train because he had the injury. The fight was supposed to be in July. And I would have won if it was in July. He actually, I probably would have. It was in Paris, but I probably would have won. I would have found a way to go, especially Dallas. Dallas is beautiful. Beautiful weather, beautiful food. But he's 58. And for him to really win this fight or want to win this fight, for one, he would need a tune-up fight. Just sparring is just it's not going to get it. He would need a real tune-up fight, for one. Two, his knee, he would probably have to get knee surgery, right? For him to really explode through with his power and combinations, his knee needs to be 100% healthy. You can't go into a fight like this with the knee brace. So the knee issue would need to be taken care of. He would need tune-up fights. He would actually need to fight. He would need a couple-year plan. You can't just go into a boxing ring and say, hey, I'm going to fight. And Jake Paul, yeah, he's a YouTuber, but he's fighting tough guys, and he's fighting young guys. And he has a good camp of trainers around him, professionals, Hall of Fame trainers. So he's being trained by the best. He has the money and he has the resources, and he's putting in the work. You can be good that way. And he's decent. He's a decent fighter. And here's the thing. If you're a decent fighter and you're fighting someone who's just old and doesn't have the stamina, it doesn't matter what they did 40 years ago, 30 years ago, you're going to beat them. You're going to beat them. And that's what people have to understand. Did I think Mike could win this fight? I thought Mike's only chance to win this fight is to stop Jake Paul in the first round. He couldn't stop him in the first round, which I didn't think he would, because all Paul has to do is just stay away for 2 rounds, and Mike's going to be tired. So yes, this is a pretty easy match to decide who's going to win here, But the only thing about these matches is it's a circus. It's an entertainment show. So the only other aspect that I saw Paul winning by decision, which was like plus 400, or a draw. A draw would have been the only other thing, because Mike won the first 2 rounds. He's up 2 rounds. All he has to do is win a round here, round here, round there. And then next thing you know, it could be a draw. He could have even won 4 of, it was 8 rounds, right? So, I mean, he could have even won three of the 8 rounds and still got a draw just off of spite because the second round was a bit questionable, but I gave it to Mike anyway, just because he's Mike. But you could have gave the second round to Paul. So, but nonetheless, yeah, I think if Mike were wanting to win this fight, because it was a sanctioned bout, he would have needed at least a 2-year plan to really get in shape and conditioning for this. Now, yes, he did have plenty of time to train, but training is not fighting. And I say this all the time. When the tennis players come back from an injury, you see it takes a while for them to climb back to the top. And the reality of that is you need professional bouts. You need matches. And it doesn't matter how much you practice, you need that game speed. And fighting is even worse, You need that game speed. So Mike ended up losing the fight. And just look at the amount of punches he landed. Very, very, very low. I mean, we're talking about, he didn't even land 20 punches. I mean, Paul nearly 80 punches. So big difference in landed and thrown. Paul was the younger, more active fighter. Tyson, he's been through a lot. His body's been through a lot, and you have to understand that. I thought it was good for the fans that have never seen Tyson fight to be able to see him fight, but you have to understand this is not Mike Tyson you saw tonight. This, with all due respect, this is an old man here just taking a payday. This fight here, the biggest grossing fight from a gate was the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. We went to that fight. I paid $5,000 for my ticket. So I'll probably never do anything like that again. That was ridiculous. A waste of money to see these guys just run around and run all night. But it was fun. It was fun just seeing all the entertainers and athletes. It was a good fight, but that had like 19 million gross from the gate. This bout here, now it's like 3 times the size of the Garden Arena, but it grossed 20 million. So this is now the all-time grossing gate from a boxing or entertainment bout. So, or should I say sports event. So this is the all-time grossing gate from a sports event. Congratulations. But again, Jerry's World is freaking huge. It's like a 100,000 seater. So apples for apples, no. Apples and oranges, yes. Congratulations, Mike, Paul. They set a record. They also set another record. Something like over, 100 million people watch this. I don't know. I don't really have the exact numbers, but this is probably going to go down as one of the most watched sporting events of all time. So congratulations. I think Paul's a good businessman. And again, did you guys see that picture where Tyson was like with Paul when he was like a little kid? So, I mean, their camps, they know each other. At the end of the day, this was a business. It was a business move. We all know Mike doesn't have it. Anyone that's followed Mike, even when 20 years ago, he didn't have it. So this was a fight. You knew Paul was going to win. But it was good entertainment. We need more fights like this. There's just not many people left out there that can entertain us like this. I mean, Mayweather's still doing these crazy bouts, but he's not really fighting anyone, right? So I do think this was a good show. A lot of people I knew just looked forward to watching this, and it was a good night of sports and entertainment. So I hope everyone enjoyed it, but just realize this was not the original Mike. He's a shell of his former self. He's a shell of his former self. And I have a Mike Tyson story. We were at an event, a private event, and we weren't expecting Mike to be there. A lot of boxers, entertainers, celebrities. I'm there covering the fight with one of my cousins who's a boxer. I was a boxer as well. I was an amateur boxer, and Mike comes in. We weren't expecting Mike to come in. It's a small ballroom. It's a beautiful private event. Mayweather actually put on the event. So Mike comes in, and fans start rushing him. We're not expecting Mike to be there. And Mike is coming through the crowd, and he starts elbowing people. He's like, get off me. This was Mike. This was Mike, crazy Mike, right? So Mike comes in, he's elbowing people. Get off me, get off me. And this was a few years back. So this Mike was in shape. He's still, Mike wasn't like, even though Mike trained for this fight, I could tell Mike wasn't in his best shape. And me personally, Mike to be in his best shape, it's not just the strength, it's the conditioning, it's the stamina. Are you like really running? I mean, he said he was running for this fight. I don't know how true that is. He said he was running like, I think he said he was running like 3 miles a day. It's possible. But the way his stamina was in this fight, I don't think so. And the way his legs was, I don't think so. I would have possibly, if I was in his camp and they were, because I think this is just a money grab. Again, you tell the media things that aren't necessarily true, because the way his knee was wrapped up, I don't know how he would be able to run every day like that. He didn't have his legs. His knees, he would need surgery, some type of stem cell or something, get his knee right. If his knee was right and he was able to run, and again, they said he was running every day. I don't know if that's true. From watching his knees and his legs, I would say that's probably not true. I don't think he could have, because when I look at his physique, that doesn't necessarily, I mean, yeah, he is 58, his testosterone levels could be low. But again, if you have a nutritionist, they would test all that and get him really right, which is why, to me, it's more of a circus fight, because I can tell that from my perception, he just wasn't running like that. But anyway, back to the story. This was Mike. He's still, he's wearing one of those black tight shirts where his muscles are showing. So he looks to be in good shape. He walks in, everyone's running to him. And then he's starting to elbow people. Get off me. And he has that look in his eye, that look when he's like young champion of the world, Mike Tyson, that Peter McNilly look when he's just rolling his eyeballs back and forth, saying, I'm ferocious. I want to eat your heart. I want to eat your children. I'm Iron Mike Tyson. He's elbowing people, and he elbows this one guy. Why? Because he holds his cell phone up in front of Mike and tries to snap a selfie of him and Mike. Mike's not having it. He elbows this guy in the throat. He falls down, knocks over chairs. And Mike is coming in with security that's, trying to protect him from this crowd. Everyone knows he's going to but he's by himself. He just has security. Knocks the guy down. The guy knocks the chairs down. And I'm like, Mike, I could touch Mike. So I'm right here in the middle of this. But I'm not going to go near Mike because he's elbowing people. So he's walking by me. So I start recording this and taking pictures. I'm like, this Mike is crazy right here. But I'm not going to try to get a selfie with Mike, because I can see he's already like elbowed 10 people. Mike doesn't want to be bothered. So he knocks this guy down. Security looks at Mike and then looks at the guy. Security is thinking, should we grab Mike? Well, okay, that's probably not going to be a good idea. So they grab the guy that Mike just knocked to the ground. This was hilarious because they were scared to do anything to Mike. And again, the guy didn't hit Mike. He didn't touch Mike. He just held his phone up and took a picture, a selfie with him and Mike, like with his phone, the front facing way. So he didn't do anything. He didn't touch Mike. He just snapped the picture. And Mike just elbowed him, knocked him down, and security grabbed the guy and got the guy out of there. I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. I'm pretty sure that led to a lawsuit or something. But that's my Mike Tyson story. Mike was on one. He was just mad. He was just angry. Everyone rushed him. The Mike now, I don't think would have done that, because I think mentally he's in a different place. And again, look, he's got a lot going on. He did the Roy Jones fight where he made like 10 million. He's going to make at least 20, 30 million for this fight after the pay-per-view buys and all that stuff comes in. He's got his businesses going, so he's in a better place than when I had saw him that night mentally. So I don't think the Mike of today would do that. I think if he walked into a crowd, he'd probably, engage with the people. But that's my Mike Tyson story. And this got a little crazy in the interview. Logan Paul, they're like, what's up next? What's next, Mike? Are you done? This is the last we've seen of you? He said, no, I don't think so. What's next? He said, I don't know, maybe Logan. or something like that. Logan said, Mike, I will whoop your And look, the reality here is I don't want to see Mike in the ring again. I'm just glad he didn't get knocked out, because I do think couple things here. One, I did not see Mike throw anything hard. I mean, it's tough to get in, especially with that knee. But the first couple rounds, Mike had explosion, and he came out the third round. He just ran right at Paul. But I did not see Mike throw anything even remotely hard. Even though he's 58, he was still training and sparring. And we saw in sparring him throwing some dangerous combinations. And of course, those are sitting ducks. They put him there to make Mike look good. But the reality here is he can still fight. He can still throw punches, right? And I didn't see Mike throw anything to even remotely try and damage Paul. And that could have been part of the terms of the agreement. And at the same time, I saw Paul have an opening to do something to Mike, and he backed off as well. So no, I don't really want to see these kind of fights. So I hope Mike doesn't fight anymore, because at this point now, because it was a sanctioned fight, Paul has a win over Mike Tyson on his record. Tyson has a loss over Paul. Come on, I don't want to see that stuff. And Mike talked about legacy. He said legacy is nothing. He said when he's gone, he's gone. Right? No one's going to care about his legacy when he's gone. But the reality here is your legacy will live on. You will be known as the youngest heavyweight of all time and one of the most baddest men on the planet. He was. I can remember a time where Mike Tyson was just dangerous. So, but I don't want to see Mike fight again. I really don't. This was exciting. The lead up, the build up, it was entertainment. And with everything going on in the world, we need these entertainment matches, these matches to get our minds off of reality. And it's good. It's a good breather. It's a good break. And that's the thing with my channel, why you guys support. And I love you guys for the support, because you come here and you know, look, I'm giving you the rundown on tennis for the most part and sports. And occasionally we'll give you the UFC and boxing breakdowns. And it's a good way to just listen to me give my opinion. So thank you guys for the support. But do I want to see Mike fight anyone else? No. If I see Mike fight anyone else, it's got to be someone his age, so it can be a fair bout. You're fighting someone in the prime, best shape of their life, facing a guy whose body has just been through so much, not in the ring necessarily. Mike didn't really take a beating in the ring, even though he's lost now 7 fights. He hasn't taken a beating because Mike's very tough. But just, the abuse of the substances and just not taking care of his body outside of the ring has led him, and he's lived a rough life, let's just be honest. But so long from Dallas, Texas. I'm your host, Good Energy. Jake Paul defeats Iron Mike Tyson by unanimous decision. Mike has been through a lot in his life, but that's why we love him. Life is not perfect. It's about growing, becoming a better person. And the person Mike is today is truly a remarkable man. I'm your host, Good Energy, signing off. Thanks for the love and support. Like the video, hit the super thanks. We'll be back with more tennis coverage, guys. We do have the Billie Jean King Cup. I watched the matches. I just haven't covered them. I've been planning to. But yeah, I've watched. I want to talk about the Beatrice Haddad match. Was that her version of Coco coming back last night? Congratulations there. USA, though. Taylor Townsend put on an amazing performance this week. I thought that was great. Iga Palmadosa, that was big time. Emma Raducanu getting the win over Julia Niemeyer. That was a good match. I have all the photos. I've been watching the matches, so I just didn't upload. Just taking a little breather, It's been a long season. But we'll be back, guys. And Coco playing in the United Cup for the USA, that's going to be huge. The showdown at the Garden, we have Pegula versus Emma Navarro. We have Ben Shelton versus Carlos Alcaraz. And by the way, we have the ATP finals. That's going to be good. Who's going to win that, guys? We got Carlos, we got Casper. We got some good matches going on. So center, we have Alexander. It's going to be good, guys. So show some love. We'll be right back.